Hello and welcome to my studio. I'm Jessie and this is the Knit Up and Dye podcast, episode 103, Boxes Inside and Out. As always, I'm going to start with my thank yous. A special thank you goes out to my subscribers, new and ongoing. I love you guys. What you see here is all about you. I'm always looking to hear your feedback and hear about what you want to see and learn more about. Hello goes out to Judy and Kate E. Thank you for adding me to your lives. Special love and thanks go out to Amy, Toonie, Glenda, Tara, Diane, Allison, Barbara, Lib, Joy, Adriana, Wayne, Sonia, Patricia, Lisa Lette, Cappy, Kath, Jorge, Chris, Benty, Christy, Neetsy, Charlotte, Roseanne, Linda, Marie, Eve, David, Donna, Betty Ann, Scott, John, Kate, Janet, Terry, Monica, Carolyn, Nancy, and Rachel. Thank you. Much love goes out to my Zoom family, Robert, Juanita, Paula, Brian, Jen, Elizabeth, Katie, Shirley, Roz, Jamie, and Wayne. Hello and a warm thank you goes out to all of my patrons. You honor me. You make this possible. Thank you. What have I been doing this week? Well, I called this episode Boxes Inside and Out. This was my last preparation week, my last opportunity to get everything ready for my trunk show so far as the items that needed to ship. That was all the product, displays, materials, just everything that physically needs to be there outside of me. And a lot goes into that. I'm taking inventories, I'm valuing for insurance purposes, and I'm making sure that I have a broad spectrum of product for the greatest opportunity possible. I want you to see my range of capacity, everything that is possible, and I want to have the widest, newest things available to you. In doing that, sometimes there has to be some last minute edits. Sometimes I look at the color range that I'm selecting and say, this isn't flattering, or this doesn't mix with anything else, or they've seen this before, let's get them something new. A lot of process goes into that. Then there's packing. There's making sure all the swag is assembled and everything's packed in there. Just sealing everything up and getting everything ready to go and making sure that it ships out early enough that it's there. It makes it regardless of the crazy weather exceptions that are happening across the country, flooding and tornadoes and hail and all the other things that can slow shipping down. I need to make sure that I'm shipping in advance of delays that can happen so that if there's a delay, it still has a potential to get there in time. So I really ship in advance, but not so far in advance. The shop is sitting there staring at boxes and it's like Christmas is coming and they just can't help themselves. They have to open up and peek or have it stored for long periods of time and in people's way. I don't want that to happen either. So it's guesswork. And a lot of anxiety goes into putting all that product into boxes and shipping it and hoping that your shipper is reliable and the weather holds and everything works out and nothing gets lost or damaged or stolen. These are my babies. This is my art. And shipping it out like that is nerve-wracking. It's really nerve-wracking. But that happened, and I am super excited to know that those are in progress. They are headed out. I've warned the shop. I've told them, hey, it's coming, and they are aware. And now it's just emails from the shipper letting us know where it's at and when it's going to drop. So that's been the majority of my work this week, is really preparing that and getting the physical aspects of the trunk show out the door. Now it's me and getting myself prepared getting everything at home and at work all settled down and safe for when I'm gone, getting my shop all stable for when I'm gone, getting myself prepared. I'm geared up. I'm really geared up. I'm super excited. But am I ready for my class? Am I ready for my talk? Am I ready? Hey, is my information good? Am I researched? Do I really know what I'm talking about? And these are anxieties. These are silly little anxieties that I do this all the time. I love what I do. But when you're face to face with people and you're on stage, how do I express this? When I'm preparing to get on stage, it is the most, oh my God, stage fright, nerve-wracking thing. Once I'm there and I'm surrounded by people that I know and I love, all that falls away and I don't even think about it. It all just comes out. And it's very from the hip, from the heart, and very natural, and I probably didn't need to prepare at all. But the anticipation can be so nerve-wracking. Do you go through that? I used to do direct sales, and we had parties at people's houses, and I went in and I sold a product that they actually wanted. And it would be so nerve-wracking that when I loaded up to go to the party, when I got in my car, I went to turn the car on and I'd be sitting there holding the steering wheel, dying of anxiety. What if I failed? Oh my God, what if nobody shows up? And it would just eat me alive inside. And if I could start the car, if I could pull out of my driveway, everything was golden every time. It was just that one step over the line. The good news with this is there's no way I'm going to stop. I have a plane ticket and I'm getting on that plane. And I am so in love with the people and so in love with the process and so excited to be back in a town that I love, with people that I love, doing something that I love, that my only anxiety is making sure that my materials are edited and sharp and that I know what I'm talking about. Crazy, I know. These are the boxes that we trap ourselves in. These are the boxes that we compartmentalize things in, and I just go, oh, that's stage Jessie, and I put that in a box, and I take her out when I need to have her out. And this is podcast Jessie, and this is when I get to sit down and talk to you. And then there's home Jessie, who gets to go and play with her dogs on the weekends and do some gardening. And then there's all these little boxes where we put things and we think about things. And I've really had a lot of that on my mind as I'm starting now that the physical boxes have left the building. Now I'm looking at the boxes associated to the class that I'm teaching, where I'm talking about yarn and pattern pairing. And we have rules about color, and we have rules about patterns, and we have rules about fashion, and we have rules about presentation, and how we carry ourselves, and what is right and acceptable and okay, and what is art and what is conservative, and looking at all these different boxes and piling them up to discuss them and to break them down and to explore this topic in this class has been really introspective. I purposefully waited until all of the physical parts of my trunk show were handled before I sat down to research this, because I knew that if I started to look directly at pattern and yarn pairing, and I let too many of those rules, too many of those boxes get into my subconscious, I would be less likely to be daring with my color choices. I would be less likely to present new and fun and wild colors, that I would probably fold in on myself and get very conservative and go, okay, I only want to give them yarns that they will knit socks from or that they will knit sweaters from, versus expanding the creativity, expanding the process and the colors, and looking differently at things, breaking out of our boxes, breaking out of our rules, and really pushing boundaries. There is this wonderful movement in knitting where I think all knitters, all crafters, all crocheters really look at color, that they have a relationship and a conversation with color. And when they are turned on to their craft, it is ultimately about color. I'm sure texture plays into that, but I consider texture part of the color family of love. And that relationship with color drives patterns, drives fashion, drives the products that we are creating, the art that we are making, the things that we are wearing. And we've had in fashion so much locked in. The 80s, everything was fluorescent. The 70s, everything was burnt orange and horrible avocado and goldenrod and colors that I actually love. 80s, not so much. I'm not a fluorescent girl, but you know what? They have a time and place. Black and whites and very succinct and somber colors. Every fashion period has a colorway. It has a palette. And knitting right now, because of pioneers like Stephen West, Stephen B, it is really opening up because of the push for indie dye yarns, because of the broad variety of them available, because of the mass population and accessibility of them. We're really seeing a change in bravery, in courage, in color exploration. And granted, not all of it is my taste. I am not a mohair girl. Stephen B, I love you, but mohair does not need to be in everything. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. But the bravery to go, you know what? Let's knit with videotape. Let's use some hardware store chain. Let's throw mohair into that. Let's explore color and texture and how these things interact is so interesting. And I think it's a commentary to diversity and inclusion. Reaching out, trying new things, putting things together that you didn't previously think should go together, knocking down the boxes, saying, yes, mohair and hardware chain are beautiful together. It's a whole movement that's happening in the knitting industry, and it's exciting and it's fun. And art is supposed to cause an emotional impact. It is supposed to impact you in a way that makes you respond, whether it's positive or negative. Response is the goal. Response is the goal. And I've really been thinking about this a lot in looking at this color and yarn pattern pairing thing, because I need to help people see, rules is the wrong word, guidelines, how to make the most of it, and that's pretty easy. This works with this, A plus B equals C. It's expressing to people that yes, A plus B equals C, but what if C doesn't exist? What if we just go right straight to W? What if we push that boundary? How do you teach that bravery? How do you teach the eye to go, this is nice, let's edit this down to something that's in this box, and go, nope, I'm taking the lid and the walls off of that box, and I'm gonna say, let's throw this in there too and see what happens. Teaching bravery, teaching courage is extremely difficult. And I look at the work of Brene Brown. This woman teaches vulnerability. And vulnerability is the seed of courage. It is the beginning of courage. It is the definition of courage. By stepping out, by doing something different, by making yourself vulnerable, that is the definition of courage. Now, with knitting and pattern and yarn pairing and color, there's one step further. I can sit home and I can knit the craziest, wildest stuff. I have knit some pretty wild stuff. I have a cowl that is covered in fringe, and it is fun, and it uses bright colors. The next step beyond creating it is wearing it. And I do. And if anybody questions it, they made themselves vulnerable. They stepped out of a box themselves to say, I like it, I don't like it, I have a response to it that I don't understand. That's what makes it art, is actually not just creating it, but putting it into the world, breaking it out of its box. It's a nesting box in a lot of ways, that you had one box that you had to break out of the rules to create something that fit into another box, art. And then you had to take it out of that box and get it into public to let other people open their boxes to respond to it. How's that for free thinking? I've gone all off page there. But this is, I purposefully got all my stuff out of the way, get everything shipped out before I really focused on this and started to dig through my books here and see how many of my knitting books even address color. Take a look at your collection, flip through it, see what they say. Even the books on color work, they talk about stripes and they talk about contrast, and they use words like hue and value and shade and tone, but they don't talk about breaking the rules. And it's been an interesting study going through my library and seeing how many great books, fantastic books, real tools of the industry back away from that discussion and don't talk about indie colors, indie dyes. Don't talk about hand-dyed yarns or even hand-spun yarn. Wow, the colors that come out of hand-spun, the manipulation that you can do, whether you're, I'm going to use a lot of terms that I'm not really comfortable with, plied, chain plied, whether they're barber poled, whether they are gradients that you've created. There's a whole other level to yarn creation when you get into spinning dyed fibers, because there's so many more things that you can do that you can't do with a pot of water and cups of dye. It's just you're going back one step further. You're going even further down to creating a base and color at the same time, which I may explore more. No, I have not been doing my hand spinning. Juanita, yes, I know, 15 minutes a day, I'm sorry. I just have been busy. And I hate to make excuses like that, but it's amazing how easily you can get sidetracked. I have set aside time today to work on my hand spinning because I think it's important to expand my thought process. It's important to go off page and do something outside of what you're supposed to be focusing on, so that you have that meditative time to let things in your subconscious twist around and spin and build into something more. Taking that box that you're supposed to be focused on and stepping outside of it and doing something else. You're still doing stuff inside that box. You're still working on that project, if only in your subconscious, and great things can come out of that. And I suspect that while I'm sitting there focusing on whether or not I have enough twist in my hand spin, that it's going to make me think differently about breaking the rules about color. It's going to make me think differently about pairings and how to do great things, expand and be bold and challenge some of the rules about pairings and go one step further. So I'm excited to take that time to do two things at once, to really expand on my skill set and think differently at the same time. What else have I been doing? Let's kind of rein back. Let's put this back in a box, shall we? I have my sheet. I have my rules here. What have I been knitting? Not a lot. I think it was It might have been, it was sometime midweek, Wednesday or Thursday. I finished the first of my watermelon socks. And I love it. I think it's super cool. It's really pretty. I knit this from one of Gail's art sock blanks. I have the rest of my blank right here with things dangling from it. It's so cute. I had bought this online from Gail's Art in one of her updates. Her updates sell out so fast. And I've had this in my stash for a while now, and I just felt like it was time to pull it out. I needed a travel knitting project. I had some offsite training I had to do, and I knew I was going to have some downtime, and I just thought, you know, this isn't going to roll away. Love that about blanks. And it's pretty and it's fun, and let's do that. And so I started my watermelon socks. I got my first sock done. I was so excited, and I was sitting on the sofa all proud, my toes all grafted, and the colors are fun, and I really love this, and I tried it on. And I'm sitting there, I snapped a picture, I put it up on Instagram. I had all my one socky love, and was thinking about casting the second one on, but it was late in the evening, so I would cast it on the next day on my ride to work, and then my foot fell asleep. And it was the tiniest little bit achy. It was late in the day. It was evening, and well, maybe I was sitting funny, and maybe it was just an illusion, and I told myself a lot of lies. And I went to bed with these lies in my head, thinking I'll cast on that second sock. And I woke up the next morning acutely aware that I lie to myself, especially if there has been a potential failure. And I suddenly was just blocked. And I thought, you knit this on US ones. And you've knit a pair on ones, and they fit you beautifully. You didn't have this problem before. Well, when you took the sock off, you didn't have stitch impression. You couldn't see the stitches on your skin. And yeah, it felt tight enough that you looked. Who has feet smaller than me? I'll knit the second sock. I'll gift them out. They're really pretty. I don't know how I feel about this. Am I going to knit the second sock? And I hemmed and I hawed and I put it off, and I didn't cast on the second sock. And Monica, I love you. I was sitting at work, and one of my dear friends says to me, "Oh, I saw your sock. It's beautiful, And I said, well, yeah. And I expressed to her the issue that I was having with the sizing. And she's wonderful because she's a numbers person, and she thinks way outside of the box, and she educates herself constantly. She watches a lot of podcasts about a lot of different subjects, and she's into food, and she's into all kinds of things. And she just took it right out of the box I had shoved it into, where this was failure, and very succinctly said, compression socks. Monica, I love you. That turned my project around 180. I had put them on late at night. Late at night, your feet are swollen. It wasn't discomfort, it was uncomfort. And there's a difference. And I joked with her briefly because I'm about to take a flight. And for a couple years now, I've thought, there's something to compression socks. There's a reason that people wear compression socks on airplanes. And one of the reasons is health, and the other reason is energy. By compressing your lower limbs, you're actually helping your blood flow, and you're keeping your energy up so that when you get to your destination, you're not wiped out from this horrible flying bus experience that you've just had. And wow, I really encapsulated my joy of flying, didn't I? And I have been thinking for a couple years now that I really needed a pair of compression socks. Well, in 10 days, I'm going to be on an airplane, and I have one sock done. And so, bang, I cast on the second sock. When I got up this morning, when my feet were at their least swollen, which they will be at like, I don't know, 4 a.m. is when I gotta get up for my flight. I put them on and they fit. They were a little snug, but they fit. And I had joked with her briefly that either they will be the perfect compression socks or they'll be an emergency landing and they'll be cutting wool off of a woman who's about to lose her feet. But fortunately I work in orthopedics and they'll be able to sew them back on or save me from compression syndrome, whichever happens first. I joke, those are serious conditions and emergency landings are traumatic and horrible for everybody involved. But I don't want to cause one because of the socks that I have knit. And so I did take the precaution of getting up this morning and putting these on and wearing my one sock on my larger foot for a solid hour just to see, am I fooling myself or have I created a compression sock? These are 75% wool, 25% nylon. They are stretchy. I am not going to cause an emergency landing. They will not be cutting wool from my ankles. But I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to give this a try. So circling back, I said that I knit these on a US size 1 needle, which is not my go-to needle. My go-to needle for years has been a US size 2. And through stress and body changes and everything else in my world, my gauge has loosened up a little bit over the, how many years have I been making socks? We'll call it a decade and be nice to me. I rolled more recently to starting to use a US size 1. Just same stitch count, just tighten that gauge up a little bit. And in theory, 1 needle size is a half a stitch per inch difference. Theory. Half a stitch per inch. It snugged it up, it made it fit. And the leg fits nicely. And the foot fits nicely. The difference is right here. I have a high instep. I create a deep heel flap. I prefer heel flaps. Short row heels create too short of a span for me. My apologies, random phone call. What I was saying was that short row heels create too narrow a span through the instep for me, and they're uncomfortable. They're always too tight through there. I had knit socks before on US 1 and they fit me beautifully. The difference was their construction. I've talked to you guys a lot about the Squircle socks, and I am supposed to be making a tutorial for you, which I have failed miserably at getting done. Thank you. I'm sorry. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But that construction has an even deeper heel flap and is much broader through here, which is why it fits my foot so beautifully. It is adjustable. You can, if you have a narrow instep versus a broader instep like mine, and I'm talking about the distance here from the heel to the top of the foot, you can adjust that pattern. It's a formula. You can adjust to any pattern. I'm sure a short row heel, if I did it over a broader set of stitches and use more than half of the stitch range, would probably fit my foot fine. I haven't messed with making that alteration of that pattern. I can readily alter a heel flap simply by knitting it longer, and that opens up this space for me. So the reason that these are snug through there is I didn't go a little bit longer than my standard formula for a heel flap, and I didn't do the squircle, which opens that span up, which I had done before with the US ones, and they fit me so beautifully. Lessons have been learned. And I really think that I only need 1 pair of compression socks if they work that way for me. I think that they will. But they're going to be the coolest watermelon compression socks you've ever seen. And I don't think that these are broadly available on the market. So I'm really excited about being the only compression watermelon person alive. The lies we tell ourselves, the things, the justifications, the way that we put things in neat little boxes in our lives so that we can move forward, right? Anyway, I'm enjoying the project. I think the first sock is absolutely beautiful. I'm normally a matchy-matchy knitter, and I really like to have my socks line up perfectly. I think I've shown you multiple pairs of socks where I line them all up and I show you how the stripes are exact between the two. This is so not going to be the case with this. This is a beautiful, beautiful hand-dyed blank. And very quickly observing the blank, you can see the differences immediately in the color spans and in the patterning that she has painted on here. That this dark green span here and this dark green span here are not the same size, that she changes them up, that there are spatterings of color across sections here where each of these rows has got color interacting in different ways in different places. And so these are never going to make a match pair of socks. They're going to make a variety. They're going to make a beautiful intermingling of color. And so the next sock that's cast on, there's the top of my leg right there. There's my ribbing and there's the beginning of the leg. And that is distinctly different from the first sock. And that's going to be fun and exciting. And I'm going to enjoy taking off my shoes at TSA and standing there in some wild watermelon socks. Again, I got 10 days ahead of me to get these done, grafted, and ready for flight. And that's really going to be my focus. I am more than confident that I can get a sock done in 10 days. I don't foresee anything that's going to prevent me from doing my commuting knitting. I don't see anything preventing me from doing my lunchtime knitting. I'm very confident that this will happen. And next week when I sit down to podcast, we will have the proof in the pudding, won't we? That's what I've been knitting. I do have travel knitting coming up. I have my flights that I'm going to be on, and I like to knit when I fly. I also like to have 2 different projects with me when I fly. It's a long time sitting, and if you have something too monotonous, or heaven forbid, you've chosen a pattern that you didn't read all the way through, you didn't check everything all the way through, and you hit a roadblock, or you discover that you forgot a tool. I'm headed to a yarn store, so I know I'll be able to pick up the tool that I forgot for my return flight. But having an alternate project and backup for when you realize you've hit that roadblock, that is everything. I love that, and that's why I do that. My carry-on always has 2 knitting projects. So I have a couple of ideas in mind, and I talked to you guys very briefly about this last week. My dear friend Jamie knit the most gorgeous shawl. It's a 1-skein shawl. It is the Stormy Sky Shawl by Life is Cozy, and he did it using my Copper River colorway. He made that yarn sing. It is so beautiful. Jamie, thank you. Thank you. I'm so honored by that project. That is so beautiful. Thank you. I totally inspired me. It's a great project. It's a nice, simple pattern that makes beautiful, beautiful use of hand-dyed yarns because it has a lot of drop stitch yarn overs, which is creating a negative that you can really see the yarn in, but it's got a steady long increase in it that combined with the drop stitches and combined with the long increase up the sides is jogging your stitch count, jogging your yarn usage just enough that your yarn doesn't pool, it doesn't flash, it moves along, it groups where the stitches are dropped, and then it's broken up with garter stitch and it's broken up with a mesh stitch. And then you do that drop again. So you get groupings of color, but it really just flatters the entire skein of yarn. And it is easy wear. It is sizable enough that out of 1 skein, you're impressed by the size of this project. It's really beautiful. So I'm so in love with this project. I'm like, yep, I'm doing this, and I'm going to do this in my gypsy colorway, and that's beautiful, and I'm very excited. We had wonderful news at work this week. One of my co-workers, I just love her. She came into the office and announced she's pregnant. And yay, happy Mother's Day, and I'm so excited for her. So come January, New Year's, we got a new baby coming to our little work family, and I'm a knitter. That means I get to knit something. Ooh, I love that. And I warned her. Hey, what's your favorite color? And I'm knitting for the baby, and she's took it very well. I think she's actually excited about that as well. But I like to knit something for mom too. Baby sweaters are great. Baby sweaters are wonderful, and they get worn for that tiny window of time that the baby is growing like a weed in a rainstorm. And you end up with this cute little thing that you may have great memories of, you may tuck away. You may get to use with another baby. You may get to hand down to some other mother. But the time period that you get to enjoy that baby sweater is really pretty brief, unless you make something that is rolled up with big cuffs and is too long and starts as a robe and turns into a sweater. Yeah, they're only so adaptable. Really, in the big picture of things, they're only so adaptable. And I always try to aim not to create a newborn piece, because the newborn period is really weird. Kids come out all different sizes, and they shrink for a little while, and then they grow for a little while, and it's a very short window. And often at baby showers, there's so much newborn stuff. What I appreciated when I had my son in my baby shower, was the number of other parents that were there that recognized that having a huge swath of things that the baby was going to wear for the first 3 months was nice, but having clothes that they were going to wear at 6 and 9 and 12 months was so valuable, and that I had more time to appreciate them, that they were in stock, that I didn't have to panic when all of a sudden nothing fit on his squirming little body. To have things at different sizes was valuable. And so I try to aim for the 6 to 9 month range, depending on weather. This particular case, we've got a winter baby coming, and so I need to be mindful of at what time of year in this environment in the desert will the baby be wearing what. Just mindful knitting, thinking about the end product and what its use is going to be. Yes, we can all knit beautiful sweaters, but is it appropriate for the time period? So that's very much in mind. But at the same time, I went through a real struggle after my son was born. I suffered postpartum depression big time. And I think it happens to a lot of women. It may not be clinical in a lot of women, but I think we all suffer a loss. And I'm talking about my experience. Not everybody goes through this. But when you're pregnant, there's so much attention on you. You're glowing and you're beautiful and you're making a baby, and isn't this wonderful, and oh, we're so excited for you. And then the baby comes, and oh, isn't he cute and he's wonderful, and oh, we love him. And mom's standing there going, but I made him, and I'm still here. And am I still beautiful? And I love him, and I'm playing with him, and he's the most amazing thing I have ever done. But I need attention too. And I think that creating a gift for the baby is wonderful. Creating a gift for mom as well is important. It's meaningful. And it's going to go with her much longer than that baby sweater is going to go with her. And so my project, my gift for this new mother is that I'm going to knit a sweater for the baby. Absolutely. Because little things, but I'm going to knit something beautiful for mom. Something in her favorite color. A shawl, a scarf, wrap that she can use if she opts to breastfeed. That she can wear and love and feel beautiful in, that can double as an emergency blanket for the baby, that can keep her warm, that can provide her privacy or provide her a show-stopping entry. that's important too. Recognize both halves of the miracle. So, like I said, my travel knitting, I was really thinking I'm going to knit myself the gypsy yarn in the Stormy Sky shawl, and I'm going to have this beautiful piece. And then I got looking at it and I thought, isn't that the perfect shawl for her? In a totally different colorway. So my next exploration, because I will be casting this on, I am going to do that, I'm going to make that for her, is, do I love this pattern enough to knit it twice in two different colorways? I'm going to start with hers. I love it. I think the colorway that I've chosen for her is beautiful. I know I'm going to enjoy knitting it because it's a gift and it's going to be loaded with love. It's going to be loaded with potential. It's going to be loaded with everything. Very positive knitting experience. I'm going to be putting a lot of mindful and intentional knitting and energy into that. So with all that power and positivity going into that, I hope that the energy that builds from that carries me into the self-love of doing the project a second time in my preferred colors for myself. It may be a jumping off point to a new design. It may be a study for me in voids and in color and hand knit manipulation, and it may end up being a jumping off point to a new design. Or it may be, I love this shawl so much, I am knitting this for myself as well. It's only one skein. How many projects have I finished with one skein? Big deal, it's a pair of socks. I can knock that out in 16 hours. We can have fun with that. Why am I afraid of getting second shawl syndrome? I don't know. We're going to explore that. We're going to look at that. We're going to see what is it. Maybe it's just a matter of having another project in between to break it up. Maybe I really truly don't want to knit the same project twice. How many projects have I knit the same thing twice? Hats, I've done the same hat repeatedly. Socks, oh my goodness, how many pairs of socks have I knit that are the same sock? Sometimes I break it up with a stitch change, but for the most part, the vanilla sock is a love affair, and I've knocked out a lot of those. So why do I think that this project would be any different? I don't know. I don't see myself getting bored with it, but we're going to explore this. What else have I been doing? Well, let's see. I also have been thinking about this second project for my travel knitting. I'm not going to knit two of that shawl at the same time because, like I said, I want diversity. And I want to be sure that if I hit a roadblock, I can just detour and take the other project for a little while I sort out either the instruction or the lack of tool or whatever the issue is. So I talked to you guys briefly about my second project being a sweater because I'm insane. I had told you that I had a project in mind and it used two fingerings and I thought it was a top down, two fingerings held together, which was equatable to a DK, and I had lost the pattern. I knew I had found a pattern that I liked, but I didn't know what it was and I couldn't find it again. Found it, and yes, it was in my library already. Yay! However, there was a significant period of time joyfully spent on Ravelry when I was searching for the pattern that I had had in mind, where I explored all the patterns on Ravelry. Is that place not just a treasure trove of ideas and inspiration and resource? I love Ravelry. I love Ravelry. And to date, nothing comes close. Nothing comes close. Which astounds me, but I guess we know a good thing and why recreate the wheel, right? I found a couple of other patterns that I think I like better than my original choice. And I thought maybe that I was being romanced away by new and shiny. And I sat down and I read through the pattern that had been my original choice. And the first thing that stood out to me was that it was an in the round seamless sweater design, but it's bottom up. I don't know how I feel about that. Because when I knit sweaters, I don't have a standard body size. I don't have a I am unique, aren't we all? And I have a deep armhole. I often have to buy oversized shirts to make up and compensate for that, because the standard shirts, the sleeve is just too tight, and next thing you know, my hand's asleep and my arm is blue. No emergency landings here. We don't want to do that. We don't need shirts cut from our bodies. But when I'm knitting from the bottom up, that means I'm coming to the armhole depth that's pre-prescribed in the pattern. And if I adjust it to make the armhole depth deeper, I either have to guess how much earlier to stop knitting, or I go to the prescribed distance and then I knit this section longer to fit. And in doing that, I'm dropping my hemline. I'm not ready to make that kind of a change. I'm not ready to sit on a plane and do maths and yeah, my thinking is already altered when I'm on a flying bus trip. I don't trust myself. How many times have I said to you guys, yeah, I did some bad math? Why would I invite that into my life on leisure knitting? No. So I'm 180ing my thought pattern, and there's two other patterns that I'm looking at. I'm not going to get into them right now, but they are in the round top down. And the yarn that I'm using is beautiful. This is one of Shannon Shaw's colorways. She is Supernatural Yarns. I've talked to you guys about Shannon many, many times. She is a friend. She is an inspiration. She was my mentor getting into this industry and starting hand dyeing yarn. And she makes beautiful, beautiful yarns. I asked her to dye up this colorway for me. This is Acromantula Colony. I had her put it on a DK weight for me, and I bought enough for a sweater. And buy yarn, then worry about the pattern. The silly things knitters do to themselves. This is so beautiful. It has beautiful deep pewter tones in it. It has a lovely green tone in it that is, how do I express that green? Oh, a light forest. And then it has a subtle, soft teal in it. And the way she has set this colorway up, the colors are very watercolor. They do merge nicely into each other. They blend beautifully. She does very soft, subtle color changes, where here you can see that this teal is sliding into this pewter. And you can see where this silver is sliding into this pewter. And then, the silver is, that was ridiculous. The silver is sliding into this teal that goes to the pewter, that goes to the teal. And then out here, on either side of a silver, and I'm making a mess of this skein, is this little bit of forest that really complements lovely against the teal. They do still work together. They are not high contrast. The biggest contrast is the silver against the pewter. So it's really just a lovely, lovely colorway. I'm very excited to have the opportunity to use it, but I want to be sure that I create a sweater that makes the best possible use of this yarn and this colorway is the most flattering to these without creating real eye-catching spots, without having too much pooling or flashing. I want to make the most of the harmony of these colors all together. And as much as a lovely stockinette in the round would be very happy knitting, bang, knock out a sweater, this would be beautiful, it's going to pool, it's going to flash, and it's going to get loud. And I want to really harmonize that. I want to show how every color works together, and I want them to blend to become the bigger whole, to become the group of soft greens that you see when you put these all together and you pull them away from your eye versus the contrast that you see when you look at it closely. And the patterns that I was looking at, one of them had a subtle texture stitch in it, kind of a brick stitch that spoke to me, that I thought would really be nice for melding these together and making them beautiful. Swatch. Swatch. As I was talking to you earlier about stepping out of the box and being brave and being courageous, I don't want that for this project. I am not trying to create art with this project. I am trying to marry two things together in the most harmonizing way possible. I am looking very much at the end emotional impact of my art. And instead of being a loud art project that gets your attention, I want it to be a soft and subtle art project that evokes an emotion of comfort, of ease, of harmony. That doesn't make it any less challenging. That doesn't make it any less art. It can actually be more difficult. It's easy to be loud and garish and put wild things together. It's hard to harmonize and quiet and be subtle without it just being blank. And it's mindful. There's a lot that goes into that. Don't feel like the art that you're creating is lesser or is not art because it's quiet. It's still art. What else is going on? I'm going to swatch that. I'm going to look at these patterns again before I make my final decision, and somehow I'm going to get that done in the next 10 days and have that all packed up with everything that I need in order to do my travel knitting. And yes, I am insane. I'm a knitter. What have I been dyeing? Absolutely nothing. All my focus has been getting the yarn labeled and twisted and packaged and ready to go, and my husband set me up with a drill and some hooks and took a lot of pressure off of me, off of my timeline, and off of me physically, my shoulder, by setting me up with a power system to twist skeins, and I thank him so much for that, by using the drill. I am on a list for a skein twister. I may not need it. This drill worked out really, really beautifully, and I'm very happy with the results. So we're going to go forward with that for now and see what happens before this list comes to fruition and they decide to manufacture more skein twisters. What am I talking about? People are like, huh? You know, when you see a skein all beautifully twisted up like this, somebody had to stand there with both ends of it and twist things around and hold it up at tension to do that. And when you're twisting up 100 skeins, it's a fatiguing and tiring process, versus if I can hook one end to a hook and hook the other end to a drill and slowly twist it around and spin it and then merely put them together and tuck them. That takes a lot of energy and a lot of pressure off of the packaging process for these. So we're making modifications to make my business more efficient and less straining on my body, less straining on my timelines, and very happy about that. So all the work has been end product work, and there's been no new creations currently. There will be as soon as I'm back from my trunk show, and then it's going to get wild, folks. I am so excited about the changes that I've made to my workload and my demands and how I'm going to be doing things, and I'm going to have a lot more fun with a lot more color. What have I been designing? So I showed you guys the new yet unnamed shawl. I was supposed to block it. I'm going to try and block it this afternoon. I ultimately would love to have that done for my trip as a potential new design coming out. Don't know if that's going to happen. It's really about timeline and other commitments and making sure that things are done right, not rushed. And we'll see what happens there. Again, the trunk show that I've been talking about this entire episode is happening at Unwound in La Crosse, Wisconsin, my favorite local yarn store, my favorite knitters, my favorite crafters, and I'm very excited to be going back. That's happening May 23rd through the 26th, 10 short days away. I'm so excited. We have so much fun planned for this, and working with the shop, they are such amazing people to work with. The events are fun. The events are involved. The events are... Yay, I'm so happy. We have a cast-on party for our knit-along for my Keiko hat design. I have had a couple inquiries. Thank you guys for reaching out. I know I've been awful about responding to comments. The Keiko hat pattern that I showed you, and I'm sorry, it's packed, is going to launch after my trunk show. It is launching at the trunk show. The people who are at the trunk show are the first ones to have access to it and the product to knit it with my DK Minis base. After I get home, then I'm going to open it up to the world. So please, if you're very excited about that, contact the shop, come to the knit along party, and let's cast on, let's have some fun, let's talk color. The hat pattern uses 5 different colors and they all touch, they all intermingle. So we're going to be doing a lot of pairing and interacting and playing with those minis. On Friday, we have the class that I'm preparing that I'm so excited about. That is the pairing hand-dyed yarns and patterns. And we're going to talk about bravery, and we're going to talk about rules, and we're going to talk about crushing some of those rules and really expressing ourselves and expressing our joy over these wonderful yarns. Saturday, I'm in the shop all day. Come and visit. We have a giveaway happening that is culminating over the entire time of the trunk show. That is a great tote and some yarns, and it's a collaborative giveaway with the shop. So it's super exciting. It's going to be a big prize. Come on in. Just coming into the shop, you get an entry. No purchase required. Sunday morning is my favorite. It's my last day there, but we kick my last day off with a brunch. And that brunch is so much fun because we all get to sit around, we eat good food, drink great coffee, and we do a Q&A in the shop afterwards where you get to pick my brain. You get to poke holes in my theories and my ideas and my designs and learn and teach and interact with me, and it's a great time. I really enjoy that period of time that I get to sit down with you guys. All of my focus right now, like I said, is on my class and my research and looking at how to not just present rules, but present freedom. That is everything I have for you guys this week, I think. It must be, because nothing else is coming to mind and I have blathered on for a long period of time already. I love you guys, and I appreciate your interaction with me, your comments, your emails, your messages. And again, I am so sorry. I have been bad about responding, and I hope to have some time today to sit down and interact again. There has been a lot of call for tons of content, videos and postings and everything about the trunk show when I'm there, so that you guys can see what my experience really is. And I aim to please. I really hope to... It's hard, and I'm going to encapsulate that quickly for you. When I'm at the shop, I am so in the moment. I am so there with the people who are present, and I'm so excited by the energy of sitting down and being one-to-one with people, or being in a group and feeding off the energy of everybody interacting with each other. And I'm so immersed in that experience and being a part of the shop and being a part of that community that it is hard to stop and step back and pull a selfie or snap pictures of the shop. It's a hard thing to break out of living in the moment, which is such a contrast to the rest of my life, because all the rest of my time, I'm worried about tomorrow, I'm worried about the yarn, I'm worried about the class, I'm worried about what I'm going to do, I'm worried about what I've done. I fail to live in the moment all the rest of the time. And I'm thinking about marketing, I'm thinking about photos, and I'm thinking about sitting down and podcasting with you. And I'm worrying about topics and making sure that I thank everybody. And I only live in the moment when I'm actually sitting here in front of the camera and looking at you and talking about things that matter to me, things that I hope matter to you, things and theories and ideas that I have and impressions that I have and the weirdness that happens. This is when I'm in the moment, when I'm in this place. I'm going to make a concerted effort, and this sounds ridiculous, to have times at my trunk show where I stop and not be in the moment, but be in the moment and share. To make sure that I reach out and I give you guys a glimpse of this experience and show you the excitement and the joy of it. I love when I see pictures and videos online of people at wool festivals. There was a great video posted by Nathan Taylor, the sock magician. I think it's been 2 years ago now, where he was up after hours at Edinburgh dancing in a pub. I love that guy, and him sharing that experience was so beautiful. Yeah, the yarn and the castle and all the woolly people and his class and everything were really cool. But that bonding time in that pub, dancing to that raucous local music and having a great time, was a really cool thing to share. And I'm going to try and keep that in mind. And I'm going to try to bring you into the experience that I have at this trunk show. Can I guarantee that I'm going to video anything? No. But I'm going to make a concerted effort to bring you with me to the trunk show and share. As well as just to expose you to this wonderful, wonderful gem up in Crosse. The town itself is beautiful. The yarn shop is exquisite. The space that they got is amazing. The lighting that they have, the unit that they're in is a former jewelry store. And so they have jewelry quality lighting in there. What more could you ask for a yarn shop? You don't have to go outside to look at it in real light. They have full spectrum light inside. And it's like the most amazing daylight experience indoors, regardless of whether it's sunny or rainy or dark outside. It's a beautiful, beautiful location and a smart, smart shop. And the people and the community there, and why I feed so much off of this. It's a treasure. And so I do want to share that with you and expose you to that. At the same time, the flip side of this promise, I'm going to try to live more in the moment here and in my business. I have my in the moment period with you here right now, but I need to stop worrying. I need to let myself be vulnerable and not churn through everything and calculate and concern and worry and prep. I need to live more in the moment. And the best time for that for me, the most common time for me that experience happens is when I'm playing with my dogs, when I'm hanging out with my husband, when I'm cooking, when I'm cleaning, and when I'm dyeing. When I've got the pots going and the oven going and I'm doing 2 or 3 different types of techniques at the same time. I often do it while I'm streaming on Zoom with my Zoom family. I've had people ask me about Zoom. What is Zoom? Zoom is a interactive platform, very much like Skype. It's a video chat platform online that is multi-person. Many people can log in. I think you can have up to 100 concurrent users. I don't quote me on that. I don't know. It's not my group. It's a group that I attend. And people from all over the world, whatever time zone they're in, whatever their life experience is, whatever their free time is, whatever their chosen time to have knit time is, log in. And I have a great group of people there that I interact with, that I love, that I am bonded to. And I take them with me when I'm dyeing. I will stream a Zoom while I'm dyeing, while I'm in the kitchen with things bubbling and boiling, and I'm looking at recipes and I'm making notes and I'm mixing up dye. And they're along for the ride. And they see what I'm doing. I don't usually talk about it unless somebody asks. I'm not like, oh, and right now it's not a class. It's not a class. It's knit night, except I die at midnight. And there's a conversation, and there's people interacting about different things. They may be sharing their day, they may be showing off their knitting, they may be talking about which pattern they're going to do next. They may be talking about their kids, their family, their vacation, their plans, their favorite videos. We may play music for each other, we may play videos for each other. It's sharing and interactive, and there's a lot of different things that you can do with this platform. And so while everyone is interacting, I'm in the moment, and I'm interacting with the people there, and I'm dying at the same time. I'm in that second mind meditative place, and I'm pouring dye, and I'm putting things in the oven. I've got timers going on, and I'm doing this rhythmic dance in my kitchen. And the things that people share, and the things that people say, and the things that people comment on or discuss, we have great discussions, may inspire new colorways, may make me think differently about things that I had opinions about. It's a very wonderful free forum. It's a knit night. If you don't have a local yarn store, if you don't have a knit night, consider looking at a Zoom platform. There's multiple knit nights out there. There's multiple Zoom groups that do this. Reach out to me, contact me, and I will share our group. It's not my group, but everyone is welcome. And I'm happy to share that information with you. Those of you who have reached out to me and asked me about it, I'll be sending you the details. I'm going to try to be more in the moment. And I think once the trunk show is complete, which I'm going to be sad about, and I'm home and I'm dying again, I think I'm going to be a lot more in the moment and a lot less worried about what I'm doing and calculating and being concerned and in that icky box. And we're going to try and do more vulnerable, more brave, more courageous things, and see how many more boxes we can recycle. That is everything I've got for you. I love you. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for sharing your questions, your comments, your concerns, your ideas, your suggestions. I love interacting with you. I feed off of it. I build off of it. I learn from it, and I'm a better person for it, and I hope that I contribute to you as well. Have a great week. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.